You've made it to day 5 of the Kidlit Story Kickoff. Hopefully, you've been having so much fun in our writing challenge. Today is the final day, and we are going to get you that finished first draft. This session covers how to properly format your manuscript for a children's book, especially if you're writing a picture book, when and how to add illustration notes as needed, and the final tips to polish your story for submission and feedback. So grab your workbook and let's dive in. Hey there, welcome back to day 5 of the Kidlit Story Kickoff. We have made it to the final day of our 5-day writing challenge. Hopefully, you have learned a lot about the children's book writing process, and you will continue to think polished whenever you have a new story idea. So, as we've been working our way through the polish method, we have been thinking about planning our idea, outlining our story. And today, we're going to be covering the letting it flow process and getting that initial draft so that by the end of today's session, you will have a finished draft that you can then sharpen and polish and prepare for publication. As a reminder, my name is Brooke Van Sickle. I'm an award-winning author and publisher myself, as well as the best-selling author to Picture Book Perfection, How to Write a Children's Book That Sells, and the founder of Journey to Kidlit, which is a global powerhouse that helps authors from all over the world know how to write and publish their books. So we have our plot, we have our character, we know who and what is going to be happening in our story. Now we just have to put it onto paper. And that begins with understanding how to format a manuscript, knowing what it looks like. And I really like to cover this topic because I feel like so many of us, especially when we are new to children's books, are set up for failure because we see the final product. If you are writing a picture book, you do not create a 32-page document. You just create one continuous document that has the entire story on it. That's why I'm always encouraging you to be typing out manuscripts, be typing out already published books so you can see them as manuscripts. When we study them like the stories that they are submitted to publishers, when we see how they would have been submitted, it helps us know how to write the manuscripts ourselves. So it's a highly, highly recommended activity if you haven't already been doing it. But today is all about how to get your page set up. So there are some must-have requirements that are required for all of our document setups. You have to use a standard script font. Times New Roman is preferred, but you can also choose something like Arial or Calibri if you do not like Times New Roman. And you want to make sure that your document is double spaced. You're using 1-inch margins. You have half inches or a half-inch indentation. Those should be standard when it comes to your margins. So if you haven't played with your page setup, you shouldn't have to make these changes. But if you have messed around with your page setup, you might need to go and make sure that these are there. We do provide you with actual editable documents, including a Word doc or a Google Doc if you're in Kidlit Academy. So you can always use those and you do not have to set it up yourself. Otherwise, you'll just go into a new Word doc or a new Google Doc to set up these requirements. And then when you're actually building out your story and setting up your manuscript, once you have a blank sheet of paper, you're going to want to include a header, contact information, the category and word count that you are writing for with your title and byline before you actually dive into the content of your story itself. So this is an example of what that looks like for you. So this is clicked into the header section. So we have our last name and the title of our manuscript with our page numbers. We have our contact information as well. We would have our category and word count over off onto the right-hand side. About halfway down the page, we're going to have our story title, which will be in all caps with our byline, who wrote the book, the by name of the author. That's called a byline. And then we will have our beginning of our story. So this could say chapter 1 if we're writing a chapter book or novel. Otherwise, it'll just go into our first line if this is a picture book. You do not need to start with any of that back matter information like copyright or dedication. You want to get them into the story, especially if you are sending this to an agent or a publisher. The first impression is the most important because it's what's going to grab their attention. So you don't want to waste their time with information that is not necessary. That type of stuff like copyright, dedication, title page, all that info comes later. Let's just worry about hooking people and selling them and then deal with after we have a publishing contract, what comes next. But you might be working on a picture book and wondering, well, where do the illustrations come in? How do I make sure that those are clearly expressed? And I know I already mentioned that it's a continuous document, but maybe that kind of flew past you and you were thinking, well, if I only have a couple of sentences per page, do I have to break this out into 32 different pages? No. Instead, you're just going to be thinking about illustrations through notes. These are offset comments that are going to help the reader visualize what they need to see. And you want to use these sparingly because I like to think of illustration notes as a way to pull your reader out of the story. And you want to keep them grounded and invested in your story for as long as possible. So you don't want to be jutting them out constantly with a new note. The way I've seen a lot of manuscripts is they'll have an illustration note for every other line. And that I want you to think about giving your reader whiplash. You're pulling them in, you're putting them in, you're pulling them out. You're putting them in, you're pulling them out. Don't do that. But if you do need to add illustration notes, you will just offset them to the right-hand side. You'll write a line. You'll normally put them in italics or in a lighter color, like a light gray. So that way it doesn't distract the reader and they can stay invested in the story itself and then go to the illustration notes as needed. Now, you're going to want to make sure that your story reads really well without any illustration notes because some agents, some editors do not read illustration notes until the second read through. So you do want to make sure that it's clear. And you don't want to make sure that all of the action or the description or story is happening in the illustration notes. You want to make sure that it's coming across in your story. So this is something I teach at length at Kidlit Academy, but here's just a quick glimpse of the do's and don'ts of illustrator notes to kind of help you. So do include them when what you wrote can't be visualized without an explanation. So if you use a different word or you're using something unique to your story that might need some clarification, you can put in an illustration note. Like I have a book, it's written in first person. It's called Humans in Training. So it's written from a dog's point of view. But it can take a few sentences before you know that it's a dog, unless I tell you right up front. And like I said, you want to keep them grounded in the story as much as possible. So for that manuscript, I just put in a simple illustration note at the beginning that said, from a dog's point of view. So that way the reader knows right away that this is a dog and they're in a dog's head as they're reading my story. But don't use them as a way to describe exactly what you picture. This isn't your excuse to become the illustrator and tell them exactly what to draw. They are creative, they are professional, this is their job. They're storytellers through illustrations. So we don't need to do their job for them. You need to leave room for the illustrator to interpret their own ideas. But at the same time, we are not putting our entire story on the illustrator. So many times when I am talking to children's book writers, I will hear, well, my story will just be better once I have the illustrations. Or, oh, well, it's just not great now, or it's kind of boring. But once I have those illustrations, it's really going to be captivating. It's really going to grab the reader. Or I don't know how I'm going to be able to intrigue an editor until I have those illustrations. Maybe I should get those illustrations done. That way they see my vision. And I was one of those authors when I started out. And I think it's because we are exposed to that final product. And that's why I encourage you to get them into manuscript format as much as possible when you're looking at comp books and successfully published books. Type them out, see them as a manuscript so you can see what they look like without those illustrations, because it's not going to be something that you're going to want to focus on. You do not want to put your entire story on the illustrator. It's not their job to make your story great. It's your job as a writer to tell an amazing story. And then we have illustrations to amplify that already amazing draft. But then on the flip side, don't put a ton of description into your story if this is a picture book. Now, if you're working on a chapter book or novel, you will not have illustration notes. You will not have an illustrator most of the time. Sometimes they will hire an illustrator to add them, but you're not thinking about an illustrator. So this doesn't apply to you. But when you're writing a picture book, you want to use sparse language. Focus on the action, focus on what's happening, stay out of the internal, stay out of the description that's going to weigh down your pacing. And when you hear, don't put it all in the illustration notes. Don't put complete descriptions of what everything looks like. A lot of authors are then tempted to put it in their story. Well, how are they going to know what I'm visualizing? How are they going to know what it looks like? And that's where you have to put a little bit of trust into your illustrator, trust into the process that they know, that the reader knows, that we can visualize enough. And then once we have those illustrations, it's just going to amplify what we were already seeing. But don't weigh down your pacing, don't weigh down your story with all these extra words. But do use illustration notes as much as you need, so long as you're following the rules. So there is no hard and fast of how many you can include or cannot include. You can use them as much as makes the most sense for you and your story. I will say most professional authors, most professionally published children's book authors don't really use illustration notes. So I would encourage you to try not to use illustration notes to start with and then just add them in as needed, or to remove all of your illustration notes after you have a draft to know which ones need to come back in, and really play with it. Remember, these are for clarification purposes only, not for dictation, and not to add in a bunch of word count that you were not wanting to put in your actual manuscript. Because so many of us write 1,200 words or 2,000 word manuscripts, and it's really they need to be less than 600 if it's a picture book. Okay, so I'm going to show you an actual page setup of a story so you can see this in real life when you are setting up your story. All right, so this is our example here. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger for us here. And like I said, this is in your header section will be your title and your last name with your page number. You can always do a different first page if you want. So you don't have the header on there and you just put the header on page 2 and forward. That is fine. It doesn't matter either way. You're going to want to put your contact information over on the left-hand side, which includes your name, mailing address, email, phone number, any way someone would get in contact with you if you were to send this attached version of your story to them. And then you want to include your category that you're writing and how many words your story is. An approximate is fine. You don't need to include them all. If you have words for an author's note or some back matter, it doesn't go into this. This is only the manuscript. That is the word count that we are counting here. But then about halfway down the page, you're going to do your title. Put it all in caps. That's typically how titles are formatted. And then your byline, so by your name, your author name, if it's different than yours. And then start right into your story. So this is a picture book example. We tabbed in. So we have that indentation here, and we are using very sparse language. We are keeping it very short and tight, which is how a picture book voice should be. Here's what your illustrator notes would look like. They're offset to the right, italicized, slightly gray, so that way they do not blend in with our actual stories. If our illustrator note gets too long, break it into 2 lines, make it single space. So that way it doesn't encroach on the actual manuscript itself. And if you're writing a chapter book or novel, you'll just put chapter 1 and then tab in just like normal paragraphs and dive in. Everyone should have those 1-inch margins with a 1/2-inch indentation for a paragraph, as well as double spaced with that 12-point font. So this is Arial. Like I said, you can use Calibri or Times New Roman, whatever makes the most sense for you and your story. Times New Roman is the most common and the most recommended. So if you just want to start there, that would be great. We do dive into this completely inside Kidlit Formatting 101, which is a bonus that you would get inside Kidlit Academy. So if you do need more information about formatting, you would like to have a Word doc or Google Doc already done for you. Plus, I also have some tricks and some tips on how you can use formatting to actually add in voice, which is really helpful if you are using if you're writing a picture book and you're trying to avoid those high word counts. Some other things you want to be thinking about when you are typing out your story is the story voice that you are putting forward, the action that you are telling. Remember, our characters should be in constant movement. The pace and the rhythm of your story, you don't want to move too fast, but you also don't want to move too slow. Everything has a rhythm. This is everything I teach inside Kidlit Academy. Is what we dive into deep, and we have tons of resources to help you. But I want you to always be thinking polished. So now, after today, you will work on your first draft. You'll type out that initial draft of your story, and you will have checked off all 4 of these steps inside the polish method. So the only thing left for you to do is to edit it, sharpen it to make sure that it is fully ready for publishing, and then prepare it for publication. So this includes writing a pitch, knowing that it's solid, having it critiqued and reviewed because you need to make sure you have actual critique partners, not just beta readers. I dive deep into this in my other free workshop if you guys have attended that, to explain about my journey and all of the mistakes I made as a writer starting out. So go and watch that if you haven't already. But if you're sitting there wondering, okay, well, I need more help. That wasn't enough. I want to know the editing steps. I want to be constantly working with you and to be moving forward in my story and to feel confident and to know what to do next and to know that it is ready to send for publication. I want to invite you inside Kidlit Academy. This is my live program that is a proven path to successfully become a children's book author. We do host 2 live events every single month inside Kidlit Academy. But otherwise, we have self-guided coursework to walk you through the complete process, including diving deeper into all the concepts we talked about earlier this week. So Kidlit Academy includes Kidlit Writing 101. This is my signature course on the 4-step process to write a book. And the way that we break this out is we start with step 1, gathering your story assets. So like we talked about during the kickoff, we're going to be diving deep into how to create a main character, what to do if you don't have a character, how to choose the story goal, examples of story goals from lots and lots of books to help you understand what goals are, and how to know when you're ready to start writing, when you've done enough to complete all of the assets, to have everything in the planning stage that you're ready to dive into the outline. So then we're going to be talking about writing your first draft. And this is going to be more in depth than what we talked about during our kickoff today. We're going to talk about point of view and tense, which ones you should choose for your story, how to create that plot outline. I'll dive into the hero's journey, tons of examples of different plot outlines from different picture books, way more than we talked about during this kickoff. How to thread that character personality that you built in step 1 into your story to make sure that it feels unique and that your characters are authentic and reading through. How to write good dialogue, how to choose your story title. All of that and more is discussed inside step 2. And then we'll move into step 3, which is editing your book. And how do you know what an editor wants to see? How do you begin that editing process? How do you line edit your story? How do you get started with your first draft? Examples of editing, which everyone tells me is the most important and their favorite part of the course, because I physically am editing manuscripts and talking about why we are making these changes, why an editor would get the red flag on them, how to cut down your words, especially if you're a picture book writer with a story over 1,000 words, but more importantly, how to make your words count. And then we're going to talk about in step 4 about polishing it for publication, which is how do you know when your story is ready to send to publishers, what to do once you have a finished first draft or a finished draft that you feel really great about, how to write a winning pitch for your story, a pitch that you're going to use to put in your query letter if you're going to send to publishers, or in your back cover copy if you're going to self-publish this book. And then those 3 different publishing options, we're just going to talk about them at surface level so you know what path might make most sense for you to do next. Every single one of these lessons comes with a fillable PDF workbook that includes action-friendly homework so you can actually implement what you're learning as you are diving forward into the process. Altogether, the course is worth $497, but your price today is just $197 to get started. But that's not all you get for the price of $197. You're also going to get the bonus Introduction to the Children's Book Market mini course. So this is about writing for today's readers. So this is especially important if you are not aware of what's selling and what's working for readers today. If you aren't familiar with the children's book market, we're going to talk about how to connect with today's reader, how to choose the right reader for your book. We're going to talk about word counts and requirements for each of those categories that we talked about earlier in the kickoff. Plus, I give you that bonus I talked about earlier called Kidlit Formatting 101, which has the step-by-step manuscript format broken down into more granular steps, as well as advanced formatting tips to actually add story voice using your formatting to your manuscript. And then I'll give you editable documents that you can use in either Word or Google so you don't have to set up your formatting yourself. And then my favorite bonus is the digital Kidlit resource binder. This is over 30 different worksheets that I use every single time I have an idea. You have lifetime access to the course and all the bonuses. So you will actually be able to use this every time you have a new idea as well. But you're going to want to step it out and complete all of these worksheets. We also talk about them. It ties directly into the content that we talk about inside Kidlit Writing 101. So it's a really great binder. It's got sheets like your character profile card, plotting outline, picture book page layout to put it into a 32-page spread, chapter scene cards, editing checklists, and so much more. It's over 30 worksheets, and literally you're going to want them every time you write a book. And then we have a Facebook community that is private just for our writing students. This provides you with monthly accountability as well as motivation to keep writing. You're going to be surrounded with like-minded creators. We're all on the same mission to get published as children's book authors. We do monthly peer critiques once a month so you can submit your story to get feedback from other writers to see how close you are to being publishing ready. So it's a really great resource. Lifetime access to everything on the screen here. And you get it all just for $197. So if that sounds exciting to you, the link is below, but you're going to go to journeytokidlit.com/KL Academy welcome offer in order to get this great deal on the program and get all the bonuses. But I also have two very special bonuses just for attending and for being a part of the kickoff and for listening to this week's challenge. And that is both a free copy of my book, Picture Book Perfection. So this is the best-selling book in children's book writing reference from 2025. If you are a premium or a pro member to Kidlit Academy, I'm going to ship you a physical paperback that I will sign. But if you are just a basic entry or an international student, you will still get a copy. It'll be a digital copy, and all of the copies, no matter which kind you get, also comes with a digital workbook so you can complete it. This is step by step, every single thing about picture book writing. It's a bestseller. It's a huge bonus, and I know you're going to get a lot out of that. But because I don't want you to just feel like you are alone in writing by yourself, like I said, this is a live program where we offer live workshops. And when you sign up today, you get 30 days of included access to try out the lives, to watch the replays, and to get to network and to spend time with people in real time who are working on the same goals as you. So when you get the live access, this includes 2 events with me or a guest speaker on Zoom. And we're going to be either teaching about a specific topic to help you write or get published, or it's going to be a Q&A to get answers to your direct questions about publishing or writing. You will get replay access to all of them, even if you can't make it live. You can have the replay for up to 30 days. So you want to stay inside the program in order to get access to these awesome live events. We also have exclusive submission opportunities and critiques that pop up throughout the year as well. So when you are a member, you get those bonuses. Some previous speakers have included editors from places like Scholastic, HarperCollins, Charles Bridge. We've had agents from every big literary firm like Bookends, Andrea Brown, and more. We also bring in authors who have gone through the trenches just like you are, and now they are New York Times bestselling authors or Amazon bestsellers, and they share their journey of how they made that happen so that you can make it happen as well. And as a special bonus for being inside the live program, we give out our digital list of agencies and publishers that are open to unagented authors. This is only available to our Kidlit Academy students. It's called the Kidlit Insider. It also includes a query letter template, questions to ask when you receive an offer, sample manuscript, and a manuscript submission checklist. So everything to go and send to publishers is in one file, one document that you can just start to implement off of when you have that green light and you're ready to start sending out your story. We also provide you with student-only editing discounts so you can get professional critiques from our Journey to Kidlit editing team. This is 20% off critiques or edits, and you can use it every single month. So if you want to get a critique every single month or multiple critiques a month, you get the discount, and which is the same as if you were to be paying for the monthly subscription to stay inside the live. So it's a really big bonus. It's great. You get 30 days for sure included to go to at least 2 live events, catch the replays from our most recent events, get direct answers to your questions, and feel supported and like you have accountability and motivation as you're getting started in the program. But you can cancel the live support at any time. If you choose to continue, it's $29 a month to stay inside the live. That's going to include your Kidlit Insider, your discount on the critiques, as well as those 2 live events every single month. But if you just want the self-guided coursework, you have lifetime access to that. You never lose the lifetime access to the coursework or the bonuses. So everything that you see here is available when you sign up for Kidlit Academy today. It's all for $197. So you're going to get Kidlit Writing 101, the Introduction to the Children's Book Market, Kidlit Formatting 101 with pre-formatted sample manuscript, the digital resource binder with over 30 worksheets to use every single time you have a story idea, and the private Facebook community, and a copy of my book as a special bonus just for being here. That'll either be a signed paperback or a digital copy, depending on the level you sign up for. All of that is lifetime access. You will have it no matter what. We're also throwing in 30 days of live support that can be renewed after 30 days. So if that sounds exciting to you, go to journeytokidlit.com/KL Academy -welcome offer. The link is below. Just go and click it. It's in the description so you can get started. But what if you want to get published? What if you already have a finished draft? You came to this and you were just sort of adding to it. You've been working through all of the steps in the story kickoff, and you kind of feel like you're going to want more than just the writing process. And maybe you want to find an illustrator. If that is you, you're going to want to get our premium package. So this is illustrations and children's book publishing 101 included along with everything we've already talked about so far. So our signature course, Kidlit Publishing 101, talks in depth about your 3 publishing options, from how to get a traditional publisher, self-publishing, as well as working with a hybrid publisher. We talk about how to choose the right option for you, the pros and cons to all of them, and then what to do when you're ready to start those next steps, including how to pitch your story like a professional, when you need to find an illustrator, and if you even have to find your own illustrator, how to find a publisher for your story, including an editable query letter template that you can use in either Word or Google Doc and just plug and play your information, how to start the self-publishing process, how to lay out your story for an illustrator, and more is all covered inside that course. You also get Illustrating Your Children's Book, which is for non-illustrating authors, and it's all about how to add illustrations to your story without being the artist. So you're going to be talking more in depth about preparing your manuscript, including those illustration notes, what to look for if you do have to hire an illustrator, what the collaboration process is like when you're working with an illustrator, what to do if things have challenges. All of that is discussed in that bonus mini course. We also give you the More Productive Planner, which is my favorite bonus. And it's actually something I created for myself when I first began my journey because I was full-time trying to be an author. And I created this planner to help me stay focused. So it helps you find time in your busy schedule, know how to create a dedicated writing time. It gives you 12 months of undated planner sheets so you can literally get started whenever. It comes with lifetime access, so you never have to buy a planner again. You just keep downloading and printing out the sheets. And then your writing plan for each day, which is the secret to meeting your writing goals and staying consistent. So all of that is included in that special bonus there. And then we have Kidlit Idea Generator, which is one of my favorite bonus mini courses because this is how to find a good story idea and easily know that it is marketable and saleable. It gives you step-by-step instructions of how to do your comp book research, what to look for, how to analyze the book listings. So it dives even deeper into what we talked about in day 1 of the story kickoff. And it really helps you take that information and build it into a short pitch to make sure you have all of the assets from the gathering your story assets phase that we've been talking about all week. And then the last thing here is the digital publishing assistance kit. This is every single worksheet activity you need when you're publishing your story. Lifetime access to this as query letter template, submission tracker, picture book page layout, contract checklist, publishing budget plan, a presentation to lay out your book as if it is a book, and so much more. Print it out every single time you need it, come back to it, reuse it year after year. It's so great. You get everything you see here for the publishing package, and it's just $397. So it's over $2,000 worth of products for just $397. We do guarantee that if you can't finish your book and you don't feel like we provided the information, we will give you your money back. You just have to show us that you went through the course and that you studied it. So you're not even going to be out anything when you sign up. So if you're excited, you're ready to tackle your book, go to journeytokidlit.com/KL Academy, kidlit.com/welcome offer. And you will get Kidlit Writing 101, Introduction to the Children's Book Market, Kidlit Formatting 101, Digital Resource Binder, the private Facebook community, Kidlit Publishing 101, Illustrating Your Children's Book mini course, The More Productive Planner, Kidlit Idea Generator, Digital Publishing Assistance, plus as a bonus, a free copy of my book, Picture Book Perfection, which is a bestseller, all about how to write a children's book that sells, and 30 days of live support, which can be renewed after 30 days. If you just want to write a book and make sure you're successful and feel confident, the basic package is the best one for you. If you're really serious about writing and getting a publishing contract with a traditional publisher, I highly recommend the premium package. But what if you want to write a series of books and maybe you want to know how to market and sell your books, and you really know you want to self-publish your story and maybe make this into a passive income stream, a part-time income stream, or you want to quit your job and be a full-time author? What should you do then? Well, if that's the case, you're really going to want to get our pro package. This is going to include Kidlit Publisher, which teaches you to publish a book like a professional publisher, as well as Kidlit Launch School, which teaches you about the marketing process. And Kidlit Launch School was just updated for 2025. So it's a really recent upgrade, and it's got the most recent things that are working for marketing today. But inside Kidlit Publisher, you're going to learn about the planning process, including the step-by-step production process that goes into creating a book, how to choose the publication date, how to pick the right retail price for your story. If you are planning to publish through those common print-on-demand companies like Amazon KDP or Ingram Spark, we talk about that, as well as what the difference is between offset printing, how to get an ISBN, and if you even need to get an ISBN, and then actually creating those book files that you will send to print, which is the editing process. When do you need an editor? What does it look like to hire an editor? What are the different steps that go into the editing process? How to lay your book out for an illustrator, find and work with an illustrator, give them feedback on the sketches and the colored files throughout the way, review your illustrations, what final files you have to send to printer, including bleed, and the types of files that are typically sent out, and how to prepare your book for print. That's all covered in the first two steps. And then in the final step, we're going to be talking specifically about preparing for launch. And these are all the things from a publishing standpoint that you need to get ready with your story. So this is the marketing timeline. If we were to break this out into 12 months, what you should be focusing on and when, how to write a good online book description that gets you found online, choosing the right keywords, which are search terms that you will use when searching for your book, how to claim your book on Goodreads, which is the #1 social media platform for books, as well as how to create a launch team, which is typically the #1 way you will be successful as an author. We also have a special bonus that is a DIY publisher resource pack. Much like all of our other digital package, this is lifetime access of everything that you're going to need to get your book successfully published as a self-publisher. So this is your book production checklist, how to create a barcode, step-by-step instructions, copyright sample text that you can use for either a picture book or a novel, sample illustrator contract if you are hiring your illustrator yourself and not through a typical freelance site like Upwork or Fiverr, illustrator change request sheet for when you're doing sketches and colored files, 2 sites so you can get free book reviews that are trade reviews, which are important when you are pitching your book or trying to sell it to libraries and schools, and so much more is covered in that digital package. And then you're also going to get Kidlit Launch School, which is the introduction to children's book marketing. Like I said, the most recent version was launched in 2025. So it is the most up-to-date information about what is working now to market and reach readers. So how to plan for your upcoming launch, how to use social media, how to create an author website, what you even should put in an author website, how to plan for school visits, which is the #1 way to reach readers and make money as a children's book author. Plus, tons of resources that you can actually use and customize yourself, which we provide you with inside a digital package, just like all we have for our publishing and our writing. You're also going to get the author website mini course, which talks to you about how to set up a website, what items to include in your author website, tons of examples of what a website looks like, and step-by-step a creation guide for a self-hosted website, which is important if you're going to be a blogger, a content creator, or anyone that's going to own their own content. You're going to want a self-hosted website. And then for using social media for authors, this is building that author brand profile on social media, how to choose the right platforms for you. I give you 30 days of social media post ideas that you can repurpose and use for additional months, how to create designs for social, and how to plan out your content, as well as prepare for launch and what to do after your books come out. And then we have the Planning Your School Visit mini course, which is all about how to find and schedule school visits, as well as professional tips from an author who's made over $1 million in sales, going on more than 1,200 author visits, and then how to lay out an impactful teacher guide, which will not only get your story into more schools because teachers will have a lesson plan that goes with them, but it will also set you up for success when you're doing those visits themselves. And like I said, you do get that digital marketing pack. So this is lifetime access to everything done for you marketing information. So launch team email scripts, done for you social media templates that you can customize yourself and fit your own brand. Other specific hashtags you can use for X and Pinterest and Instagram, a book order form that you can use when you go on author visits, classroom guide that you can replicate and customize to fit your branding and your book, how to get book reviews and email scripts if you're going to want to do talks or book signings in your local area, and so much more. So for the pro package, you're going to get everything that we just talked about, which includes literally everything that we have to offer. It's the full kit and caboodle. So if you know you want to write a series, you want to make this into an author lifestyle where you're bringing in money or you're publishing lots of books, get the pro. It's the best value. It's over $4,000 worth of value for just $597. So click below. The link is below. It's journeytokidlit.com/KL Academy/welcome offer in order to take advantage of what we've been talking about, the bonuses included for attending and being a part of this kickoff. If you are on the fence and unsure of which ones to go with, the basic is if you just want successful help in writing an awesome children's book. This is going to give you the confidence you need to create something publishing worthy. The premium is great for writing and publishing, especially if you know you want to get a traditional publisher, you want to work with a publisher. It's our most popular tier that people choose. That's the premium option. And then the pro, like I said, is if you want the marketing, you want to know how to turn this into money, you want to produce a series of books, you want to self-publish your book, get the pro because it's going to set you up for the best success. No matter which option you choose, you're going to get a copy of my picture book Perfection. It'll be a signed paperback from me if you get the premium or the pro. If you are international or you sign up for the basic, it'll just be a digital copy. And then you'll also have 30 days of live support. So be able to jump on live Zoom with me, one-to-one with our guest speakers and all of the other Kidlit Academy students to actually get answers to your questions and go deeper with your learning. We provide you with the replay, so you don't have to attend live if you don't want to. But it's a really great experience to get that authentic, real-life connection with writers, especially since this can be such a lonely process. So we want to make sure you have that real-life touch. And it can be renewed after the 30 days for as long as you want to stay in. You can cancel it at any time. So what Kidlit Academy is it's your write and publish and marketing process. It's literally everything you need to be successful as a children's book author. And it is available to you. You can upgrade to the higher tiers. I cannot guarantee the pricing outside of this challenge, outside of this webinar, this workshop right now. But I can guarantee that you will be successful. And when you are successful, I have a special bonus that never expires. It's called the Kidlit Community Shoutout. We only make this available to our Kidlit students. And that is when you have a book that gets published, whether or not it's in a couple years because it comes out with a traditional publisher or comes out next year because you are self-publishing it yourself. We want to celebrate you. You would just have to send us a photo of you and your published book, and we will send out an email blast to all of our current community as well as social media posts. So that way everyone can share and celebrate you and your book. And we do not sell this. This is not an advertisement. It's only available to our students. So if you're excited, you want to be a part of a program that works specifically with children's book authors and sees them be successful, go to journeytokidlit.com/KL Academy-welcome offer to get signed up for as low as $197, and you will get everything that you need to be successful writing a solid story that publishers want. So if you're watching this, you can see on the screen what this looks like. If you're just listening to that, you will be able to see that when you visit journeytokidlit.com/KL Academy-welcome-offer. Again, the link is in the description, but you're going to come to this page. There's going to be a big orange button that says sign up to join here. You're going to be brought to those 3 different options. So you're going to select from the tier that makes the most sense, $197, $397, or the $597 package. We do explain it more on the page if you need a refresher. It's going to bring you to the checkout page. Complete all the fields there and hit complete order, and you will get automatic access right away to all the self-guided content, as well as the schedule for our upcoming live event. So you can join us for our next live Zoom meeting. And you can also watch any of those replays that have been within the last 30 days. Now, if you're still listening to this and you're on the fence because things haven't worked for you in the past, or you've struggled to help motivate yourself to get started, and you're not sure if this is the answer, that's what's going to get you across the finish line, I want you to know that I totally see where you're coming from and that I recognize that there are other things you can try. There are more things that provide you with one-to-one service, including you can hire an editor. When you do this, though, what I see as someone who reviews and reads manuscripts monthly is you have to know how to hire an editor. So many people hire an editor at the wrong point, or they don't hire the right type of editor, and then their stories are still not ready to go to a publisher. Now, this is a one-to-one service where they can help you complete a manuscript quickly. You just need to make sure you are signing up for a comprehensive edit. So a comprehensive edit will walk you through the entire editing process, which, as I explained in Kidlit Academy, is about a 5-step process, including developmental edits, line edits, copy edits, and final proofing. But depending on how long your story is and depending on the editor, it can range between $2,500 to $4,000 to get this one-on-one service. The other option is you could go directly to a publisher. So in this situation, you're going to be working with a hybrid publisher that would work specifically with your book. And this is one-to-one. They're publishing your book. They're trying to make your vision come to life. So it's very high touch. But in exchange for that, it does have a pretty high author investment because you are hiring all of these professionals to help you be successful with your book. But you do know it's going to happen quickly, sometimes within 6 months to a year. You will have a printed copy of your book, but it typically requires an investment between $6,500 and $10,000 to make this happen. And the reason for the difference in cost depends on the number of services they're going to be providing for you, as well as if you're going to get anything in exchange, like marketing assistance or books on hand that can really rack up the pricing. And sometimes the lower it is, the less assistance you have, in which you're going to have to create those files yourself and go through the process just to have them help you print and distribute it, which means you're going to need to know things like everything we cover inside Kidlit Publisher, or you're going to have to pay more to get that assistance. So if you're looking for the most cost-effective and comprehensive course, this is it. Kidlit Academy is the #1 program that's going to help you be successful no matter where you're at in your author journey. If you're just starting out, getting into Kidlit Writing 101 and understanding where the market comes from and diving into the Introduction to the Children's Book Market mini course is going to be invaluable. If you've been working at this for a while, though, your experience, you've written lots of stories, but you haven't been able to get it past the finish line yet, this is going to give you those answers of why you're still stuck and why your stories aren't selling. And it's really going to help you understand the pitching process as well as the publishing process to help you be successful. And if you've already self-published books before, but you haven't sold and you're thinking that a publisher is going to be the answer, I'm telling you that the publisher is normally never the answer. Typically, 95% of the time, it is 100% reliant on that story you are creating, which is why we emphasize the story creation so much. But it also can come down to knowing how to pitch your book correctly, knowing how to market it and reach those readers. So if you're ready to get everything you need to feel confident and be successful as an author and see your dream happen, join me in Kidlit Academy. Like I said, if we do not provide what we said we were going to provide you, We have a 100% satisfaction guarantee where we will give you your money back. You just have to prove to us that you went through and did the homework that we have set aside for you. You just have to send us an email and we'll be like, sorry. But I'm telling you, I built this in a way that I wanted to have this when I was starting out. It's over 10 years of knowledge that I've accumulated as a professional publisher, as a professional editor, as an award-winning author. And it's literally everything that I can give to you to make it as easy as possible. And you can get started today for as low as $197. Plus, you're going to get that bonus Kidlit community shout out where we can celebrate you with the entire Journey to Kidlit community. 30 days of live support. So you can jump on live with me on Zoom, see me, I can see you, we can talk to each other. Gonna get a copy of my best-selling book, Picture Book Perfection, and then all the self-guided coursework. And if you ever decide you want to stop with the live support at any time, you never lose access to that coursework, which is amazing. So if you want to write lots and lots of books, you can do that. Before we conclude our kickoff, I just want to leave you with this final quote, and that is, if I waited for perfection, I would never write a word, Margaret Atwood. And I like to leave you with this quote because if you haven't started your homework yet, or you have only been listening to the challenge so far and you actually haven't implemented it, you will never see your book published. It's only by taking action, having the resources and the tools you need to be successful, that you will see your book in print. So that's why I want to see you in Kidlit Academy and continue to support you like I have the thousands of other authors around the globe. And I've helped so many authors get published. So if you have questions, feel free, email us hello@journeytokidlit.com, or just go to the Academy page, read the testimonials, read more about what's included and what the whole purpose of the program is. journeytokidlit.com/KL Academy welcome offer. The link is in the description. You can go and get it. Thanks again for participating in this challenge. I have loved having you here and can't wait to see your story come to fruition. We have a saying around here at Journey to Kidlit, which goes, story by story, change unfolds. We know that together we are creating kinder, more empathetic communities every single time we get a book onto a bookshelf. So I'm really excited you're here, and I can't wait to help support you in any way I can with your story and your next steps.